The Hollowing of Elmsmere. In the forgotten folds of northern England, nestled between fog-choked moors and ancient forests, lay the village of Elmsmere, a place so old that even its shadows seemed to remember. The villagers spoke in hushed tones about the Hollowing, a curse that came once every generation, swallowing a child whole and leaving behind only silence and ash. No one knew when it would strike. Only that it always did. The story begins with a boy named Callum Wren, 13 years old, with a mind too curious for his own safety. He lived with his grandmother, Edith, in a crooked house on the edge of the woods. Edith was the village apothecary, a woman with silver eyes and fingers stained with herbs. She warned Callum never to enter the forest after dusk, never to speak to the crows, and never, under any circumstance, to touch the stone buried beneath the old elm. But children are made of rebellion. One October evening, when the mist rolled in like a living thing and the moon hung low like a watching eye, Callum followed a flickering light into the woods. It danced like a lantern, but no one held it. It led him to the ancient elm, its bark blackened and split, its roots coiled like serpents. Beneath it, half buried in moss and bone, was the stone. It pulsed. Callum touched it. The forest screamed. From that moment, Elmsmere began to change. The birds stopped singing. The wells ran dry. Children woke with bleeding eyes and whispered in languages no one taught them. And Callum began to dream. He saw a girl in his sleep. Pale as frost, with hair like smoke and eyes that bled ink. She stood in a room with no doors, surrounded by mirrors that showed not reflections, but memories. She called herself Lyra, and she told him he had opened the Hollowing. "You must close it," she said, "before it eats everything." Callum tried to tell Edith, but she grew cold and distant. She locked the doors at night and burned sage in every corner. He found her one morning carving symbols into the floorboards, her eyes rolled back, her mouth whispering names that didn't belong to anyone alive. The village turned on him. They said he was cursed. That he had brought the Hollowing early. That he must be given to the forest. So he ran. He fled into the woods, deeper than anyone had dared go. There he found the ruins of a monastery, swallowed by ivy and time. Inside, he discovered books bound in skin, candles that burned with blue flame, and a mirror that showed him not himself, but Lyra. She was trapped. Not in a dream, but in a place between worlds. A prison built by the Hollowing itself, fed by fear and memory. She told him the truth, the Hollowing was not a curse, but a creature. A godling born from forgotten grief, feeding on the sorrow of villages like Elmsmere. It needed a door. The stone was that door. And Callum had opened it. To close it, he would need to give something back. Not a sacrifice of blood, but of memory. He returned to Elmsmere, now half swallowed by fog. The villagers were gone. Only Edith remained, her body hollowed out, her voice echoing from every wall. She begged him to remember her. To hold on to her stories. But he knew what he had to do. He walked to the elm. The stone pulsed again, hungry. He placed his hand upon it and whispered every memory he had, of Edith's laughter, of the warmth of their hearth, of the stories she told him about stars and spirits and love. He gave them all. The forest screamed again. And then, it was quiet. Elmsmere returned. The wells filled. The birds sang. The children laughed. But no one remembered Callum. Not even Edith. He walked among them, unseen. A ghost made of sacrifice. But in the woods, beneath the elm, the stone remained. Waiting.